Security forces in Bahrain have used tear gas and tanks to crack down on anti-government protesters in the capital, Manama. Groups of mostly Shia demonstrators have been calling for political and economic reform, but the arrival of foreign troops from Saudi Arabia has given the king the military boost he needed ahead of declaring martial law. Middle East correspondent Ben Knight reports for Lateline.
Hundreds of riot police descended on the protesters, firing buckshot and tear gas and pushing the demonstrators out of the city centre. The protesters, who are mostly Shiite Muslims, have been camped in the city's Pearl roundabout for a month, calling for political reform from Bahrain's Sunni rulers. For weeks they've resisted pressure from local security forces, but the arrival on Monday of 1,000 Saudi troops in armoured vehicles and police from the United Arab Emirates led to this violent crackdown. One woman who took part in the protest spoke to Lateline by phone.
They started shooting in the air at first to scare us, but nobody was leaving. We just stood there in front of them and we all had flowers. One guy was calling to them, "We are brothers, how can you kill your brothers? You have guns and we don't have anything but flowers." And then suddenly we saw the riot police coming from the other direction, and they just ran towards us and they didn't care that we had flowers or anything, and they just started shooting straight away.
With the backing of foreign troops, Bahrain's king has today declared a 3-month state of emergency. State-run television announced that the Bahraini army was taking all measures to restore order, while the king was busy discussing the crisis with Bahrain's neighbours in the Gulf.
This behaviour will not go unpunished. I call on all citizens and residents to be calm.
Opposition groups in Bahrain have condemned the arrival of foreign troops as an occupation.
We consider the crossing of any tank, military or not, into Bahrain a disgraceful occupation.
But there's another more worrying element to the arrival of foreign forces. The vast majority of protesters in Bahrain are Shiite Muslims, who say they've been discriminated against and repressed by the country's Sunni ruling elite.
I feel very sad that we have to live through this, and especially that our only demand is what is rightfully ours, our country. Our only demand is to have a democracy, to have a leader that represents us and does what's in our interest, the people's interest, not his own family's interest.
The idea that a popular Shiite rebellion would overthrow a Sunni government is making other Sunni regimes in the region extremely nervous, especially next door in Saudi Arabia. To them, it's opening the door to their arch-enemy, the Shiite regime of Iran. And the Iranians are not at all impressed with the Saudi show of force in Bahrain.
We do not generally approve of the military of other countries interfering in the Gulf region. This kind of interference will not resolve anything.
Bahrain is home to the United States' 5th Fleet and is a close American ally. The White House has stopped short of calling for the Saudi troops to leave Bahrain. Instead, the US Secretary of State is encouraging restraint on all sides.
The use of force and violence from any source will only worsen the situation and create a much more difficult environment in which to arrive at a political solution.
But any chance of peaceful negotiation may now be gone. Ben Knight, Lateline.